Wong with news from here in Taiwan and around the world. In a rare visit, a Philippine delegation has traveled to Taiwan for a maritime forum. The delegation includes one former and two current senior officials, including a spokesperson for the Philippine Coast Guard. It comes after Manila lifted its decades-old restrictions on official travel to Taiwan in April. The delegation also met with President Lai Ching-te during their visit. Philippine participation is seen as a major milestone in Taiwan-Philippine relations. It comes amid rising tensions between China and the Philippines in the South China Sea. For more on the Philippine officials' visit to Taiwan, our senior reporter David Santos spoke to one of them, Coast Guard spokesperson Jay Terriella, in an exclusive interview for TaiwanPlus. Though billed as the first Philippine delegation to visit Taipei since Manila eased restrictions on its officials visiting Taiwan, Terriella says he's here in his role as an academic. David began by asking why it's important that Manila takes part in the Maritime Forum.
So, Dr. Terriella, talk to us about your visit to Taiwan.
I highlighted that it is important for all those countries who are experiencing bullying and violation of their rights as a country is that we don't have to be silent about it. We need to expose such aggression and tell that to the world. It doesn't mean that we want to provoke anybody or to escalate the tension, but it's important for us to tell the international community that as a peace-loving nation, there is this country, like the People's Republic of China, who violates international law, does not adhere to the law of the sea, and even bully ordinary Filipino fishermen.
What is the objective of this Maritime Forum, and what is the Philippines bringing to the table?
When you talk about Ocean Forum, it's not just about security. There are other issues, whether economic, trade, and investment. You also talk about, most importantly, the protection of the marine environment. So these are three pillars of maritime governance that we really need to look into. The first one is, of course, security. The second one, security and adherence to the international law. The second one is the protection of the marine environment. And the third one is the blue economy. These are the things that we can ignite the conversation and learn from each other.
Both the Philippines and Taiwan continue to face China's aggressive actions. What lessons are we learning from each other based on the engagements you've had in this forum?
We should stop calling it as gray zone already. In the Philippines, we have already stopped using gray zone activities, but we are there to call it out outright violation of international law. It is illegal, coercive, aggressive, and deceptive action on the part of the People's Republic of China. And then for us to learn from the Taiwanese government as well is to how do they deal with the misinformation and fake news. I think the Taiwanese people had been also subjected to information operation. How does the Taiwanese government deal with all of those misinformation that are also being spread out in different social media platforms?
You had the chance to meet the president of Taiwan. Did you get to speak to him, and what was the conversation like?
Well, I had a chance to ask a question to the president. He was actually kind enough to respond to a lot of questions from different delegates coming from different countries. But for me, I asked him that since we are part of the first island chain, and the Philippines is actually very close to Taiwan, in his administration as the president of Taiwan, how he can be able to further improve our cooperation in different dimensions of engagement. And he highlighted that under his administration, he really supports strengthening our cooperation in different dimensions. But he said the difficulty sometimes is on the receiving, those who are on the receiving end of the cooperation proposals that they have.
That was Philippine Coast Guard spokesperson Jay Terriella. Vice President Hsiao reaffirmed ties with the U.S. and her commitment to Taiwan's defense during AIT's Independence Day celebration.
Taiwan will never seek conflict, but we will not shy away from our responsibility to protect our people and our values.
Speaking at a baseball-themed event hosted by the U.S.'s de facto embassy, Hsiao emphasized the need for progress on tariffs and defense cooperation. AIT Director Raymond Green echoed her remarks, reaffirming the U.S.'s commitment to peace in the Taiwan Strait.
We often talk about the fact that when America wins, Taiwan wins. And just as spending for Taiwan's defense has strong bipartisan support in the U.S. Congress, I fully expect Taiwan's political parties to devote the resources needed to maintain peace.
The celebration comes before the actual holiday on July 4th. Taiwan's small and medium-sized enterprises can't catch a break. Bracing for potential steep U.S. tariffs, they're now also feeling the impact of the new Taiwan dollar's sharpest rise in years. We take a look at one of the industries feeling the hit. In Taiwan's screw manufacturing capital, every order counts. The country is one of the biggest exporters of fasteners in the world. But in 2025, these businesses have been hit with some major concerns. First, tariffs of 32% for exports to the U.S., paused at least until July 9th and under negotiation. And now the sudden rise of the new Taiwan dollar against the greenback, which manufacturers say has reduced profits to nearly zero.
可能已经接单的部分，它就一定是获利会损失、会减少，甚至亏钱的状态。然后第二个就是我们被迫后面新接的订单一定是必须去涨价。
As the Taiwanese dollar strengthens, it hurts the industry's already low profit margins with key customers, including the U.S. And the small enterprises that make up the screw supply chain are feeling the hit.
都没单了，获利汇损，大家都亏大了。抽完线卖给螺丝业去打螺丝，他们都外销，这全部都是外销的一环了。
The Economic Affairs Ministry has asked state-owned banks to help small and medium-sized enterprises deal with exchange rate fluctuations. Economists call this strategy of balancing the risk from those dips and spikes hedging.
企业界可能他们要做汇率的避险合约，然后成本转嫁、市场多元化部署、体质稳健，避免说资金流断裂的话会停损或缩减规模。
As the industry copes with losses from the strengthening NT dollar, it's hoping that the government can help lessen the impact sooner rather than later, especially as it braces for a possible resumption of U.S. tariffs next week. Joseph Wu and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus. U.S. President Donald Trump has imposed a 20% tariff on Vietnam's exports to the U.S., down from his earlier threat of 46% in April. Trump announced the new rate in a social media post, adding that third country shipments routed through Vietnam would face a 40% levy. That's to discourage the practice known as origin washing. Vietnam has also agreed to import U.S. products at a 0% tariff rate, with Hanoi reportedly committing to providing preferential market access for U.S. goods, including large engine cars. Taiwanese manufacturing businesses have a large presence in Vietnam. Some say they'll now need to focus on how to navigate the impact of the new rules.
不希望你用在这边组装出去的就不行了，相信企业界都有智慧能力去做这个应变。
Economists say these new tariffs could eventually drive Taiwanese businesses out of Vietnam. U.S. security contractors at food distribution sites in Gaza are reportedly using live bullets, stun grenades, and pepper spray. The information comes from two contractors who spoke anonymously and shared video evidence with the Associated Press. They said that many of their colleagues were unqualified, heavily armed, and acting with impunity, and that their U.S. employer was reporting any aid recipients they deemed suspicious to the Israeli government. The contractors are part of a controversial initiative to feed Gazans after a more than 2-month Israeli blockade. More than 57,000 Palestinians have died since the beginning of the war in Gaza. Rights groups say the enclave is now on the brink of famine. Pro-Palestinian activists say Taiwan is helping send military-grade steel to Israel. They're demanding freight giant Evergreen stop a shipment that's already on the way. And they say they're ready to get the government involved if need be. John Van Trieste reports.
The Gaza war is unfolding over 8,000 kilometers away from here in downtown Taipei. But a group of protesters say that Taiwan has its own, possibly deadly role to play in the conflict, and they want to stop to it now.
从海洋到河流，巴勒斯坦要自由，人权台湾拒当共犯。
They've gathered to protest outside the offices of shipping giant Evergreen, the operator of a ship bound for Israel with military-grade steel. They're unsure of the exact tonnage, but they say the Ever Golden is just days from its destination, and its cargo could soon be turned into weapons pointed at civilians in Gaza. It's part of what they say is a broader involvement of Taiwanese companies in the conflict.
在加沙进行攻击的 F-35战机、F-16战机、无人机、军用电脑等，都极大有机会有台湾制造的部件与关键技术。台湾人所生产的零件正在被运用在加沙，作为杀戮巴勒斯坦平民、妇女与儿童的杀人凶器。
Though time is running out to divert the shipment, they say there is recent precedent for Taiwan joining international weapons embargoes, something they hope might bar the ship from docking and stop other companies sending Israel possible war material.
我们的台湾政府，甚至交的经济部呢，也跟当时候的美国、欧洲，还有日本、盟国呢，对俄罗斯的出口管制有相关的措施。 而且违反这些措施的企业都会遭到裁罚，这个不过就是3年前发生的事情。
They say it's time to draw a red line for the protection of human rights. Stopping this shipment could be complicated. The ship's operator may be Taiwanese, but it flies the Panamanian flag, and its owner is based in Japan. Still, they say the shipment violates international law, and so Taiwan has to do something, UN member or not. They've prepared letters to the government asking for action, the contents of which they'll reveal later. They also have a letter for Evergreen.
请问有人在吗？长荣，长荣，你们听得到吗？
In the end, it goes undelivered and on the ground. Evergreen has told TaiwanPlus it has no role in the sale or final use of the goods it carries, and that it will continue reviews to make sure it meets all legal and social responsibilities. But this doesn't seem to be what these protesters want to hear. They say they have plans for more actions in the future and will keep the pressure on Evergreen. The ship is fast approaching the eastern Mediterranean, but pro-Palestinian activists say they won't let it pressure on its owner until it changes course. Scott Huang and John Van Trieste in Taipei for TaiwanPlus.
In the waters off Penghu, Taiwan's facing a silent invader, starfish, which are threatening the local coral. The government is responding quickly to this spiky situation. Chelsea Wu has the story.
With its vibrant coral reefs, the outlying islands of Penghu are a favorite destination for divers from around the world. But these divers aren't sightseeing. They're on a mission, searching for a spiky predator that's invading Penghu's waters.
1年至少3亿颗嘞，繁殖力很大。
The poisonous crown of thorns starfish, also known as the coral killer, preys on hard, stony coral, like the ones in Penghu's waters. Taiwan reported its first large-scale outbreak of the starfish in 2010 and has been closely monitoring them ever since. Marine protection volunteers noticed a resurgence this month in the Chimay area. In response, the government organized a volunteer dive team to carry out a spiky operation, manually removing the invasive species.
只要有人有通报这个籍贯海星的问题，基本上我们就是启动开始做调查。所以七美的这个当时我们收到通报之后，其实在调查的时候知道它已经的密度有到一个接近警戒值，所以我们就启动一个专案开始做籍贯海星的清除。
The government aims to develop long-term prevention strategies and a regional response system to protect Taiwan's marine ecosystems. With continued monitoring and swift responses, Taiwan hopes to stay one step ahead of the spiky invader and preserve the vibrant reefs that make Penghu a marine treasure. Liang Lian and Chelsea Wu for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website or follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, take a look at polar bears chilling out on ice at Prague Zoo as a heat wave hits Europe. I'm Tiffany Wong. Take care and see you next time.